get it in. Does to Smith. Jabari for three and the win. Yeah! He got it!
We are here to Fuel Rocks News. This is Rocks Fuel Podcast. Of course, I am your host, Lashard Binkley. You can always find me on Twitter at Binkley Hoops. And I am a credential writer for Rockets on SI, covering the Vipers and, of course, your Houston Rockets. And on today's early show, we're going to be talking about your Houston Rockets coming all the way back for a 122-115 win over the Milwaukee Bucks. They outscored the Bucks 40-30 in the fourth quarter after trailing by 14 in the second half. Of course, you can kind of call this the comeback day for Houston sports. As you all know who followed the Texans came back from 19 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Jaguars with Davis Mills at quarterback. So it is definitely comeback Sunday for your Houston sports. But of course, we're here to talk about the Houston Rockets, who are now 6-3 on the season. They have won 6 out of their last 7 games. And what a big time win, because it was looking pretty tough there. It was kind of reminding you of the San Antonio game where the Rockets just kept turning the ball over and just could not get over the hump and take the lead. But this was a little bit different tonight. And a big reason for that is a few things I'm going to be talking about here soon, as I want to give my quick reaction like I like to do after as many games as I can throughout the season. And in this game, I just want to give my quick reaction and kind of give a few reasons why the Rockets were able to come back and get their 6th win on the season. And let's just start with the two main guys. That's Kevin Durant and Alperen Sengun. Kevin Durant really struggled in that San Antonio game where he had 8 turnovers, just could not get it going, just kept turning the ball over. And that was a big reason why the Rockets lost that game and couldn't get back into it against the Spurs. But tonight, or today afternoon, kind of throws you off there a little bit. He only had 3 turnovers. He had 31 points, 11 for 15 from the field. He was a big reason why the Rockets were able to stay in this game, because it was a struggle there, especially in the first 2 quarters, even into the third quarter. And Kevin Durant just kept making baskets, kept keeping them in the game where they can finally take over in that fourth quarter. Like I said, only 3 turnovers tonight. He had the 31 points, and he had 7 assists, which was a season high for Kevin Durant, as he did a much better job getting the ball out of his hands. And overall, the team did a much better job in the second half, because that was another reason why they were to come back. They had 11 turnovers 12 turnovers in the first half, only 5 in the second half, and that was because they didn't have problems scoring in the first half. They had 50 points, but they kept turning the ball over. They were making their shots, but you just could not get up enough shots because they kept giving the ball to Milwaukee. They didn't turn it over in that second half, only 5 times. That was a big reason why they were able to come back. Like I said, Kevin Durant finished with a very efficient 11-15 from the field and 31 points. And of course, can't go too far without talking about Alperen Sengun, who just absolutely dominated in that fourth quarter. We all know the history between him and Giannis and what went on over in Eurobasket, even though, they both apologized and, have moved on. But, it's still a heated rivalry regardless between those two. They're 2 of the best big men in the entire NBA. And, yes, Giannis finished with 36 points, but especially late in the game, Alperen Sengun was the much better player. We saw he made basket after basket in that fourth quarter, the one that pretty much put it away when the Rockets were up only 4, taking it coast to coast, dribbling past Giannis. Giannis almost fell to the ground, then spin move around Miles Turner and the and one, and finish it with making the free throw. And that's another thing about Alperen Sengun. He's just continued to do a much better job making his free throws. He only had 3 tonight. He was averaging 8 on the season. He was shooting a career high coming in this game, but he still made 2 out of 3. Like I said, that huge and one free throw to pretty much put this game away. But Alperen Sengun, like I said, he just dominated in that fourth quarter. He finished with 23 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, had 5 turnovers, but a lot of those was in the first half. He definitely did a much better job, like the whole team did in that second half. And like I said, and I can count on one hand. I know people are going to say maybe Jokic can do that. Look, Jokic is he's a great passer, don't get me wrong, but he is not the ball handler that Alperen Sengun is. He's not going to be able to take a full court against Giannis, who's in all defense, one of the best defensive players in the entire NBA. Alperen Sengun took him full court and made him look like a rookie on that play. And like I said, I can't think of any other center in the league right now that can do that. And Alperen Sengun absolutely did that against Giannis, one of the best defensive players in the entire NBA. And that was the biggest play of the entire game. It was just an amazing play by Alperen Sengun. And like I said, Him and Kevin Durant are going to be your guys all season long, and they definitely showed up and showed out, especially in that fourth quarter when the Rockets needed it, and that's how the Rockets were able to outscore Milwaukee 40-30 in that fourth quarter to come away with a victory. Um, Another big thing that kind of definitely stood out is kind of all season, especially the last handful of games, been Reed Shepherd. He's doing what he needs to do. He's not doing too much. He's not out there trying to, be a traditional point guard, because that's just not where he fits at best. He's doing all the other little things. He's got some of the best hands between him and Tari. I don't know who has the best hands on the team as far as when it comes to steals. His anticipation of steals is probably the best on the entire team, and he had 4 steals tonight, a career high. Um, 16 more points after having a really good game against one of the few Rockets have a really good game against the Spurs. He did it again tonight. Like I said, another 16 points. He had the 4 steals, 2 assists, and was 6 of 10 from the field. And him and Tari have been the Rockets' 2 best 3-point shooters on the entire season. And Reed Shepherd was 4 of 6 from 3-point range tonight. And like I said, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He is more of a off-ball, playing off of Alperen, playing off of KD, being able to kind of be more of a free-flowing guard than necessarily trying to be a point guard where he has to try to get everybody else involved, and he's not really able to just focus on just shooting. That's what he needs to focus on. And also his in-between game has gotten a lot better this season, to where he can come off the pick and roll, get into the paint, get around the mid-range, and get up a quick shot, because he has the best form of anybody on the entire team outside of Kevin Durant when it comes to his jump shot. And he continued to improve that throughout this season, and he just looks so much better than last season, even so much better than the beginning of the season, because he's taking his time, and they're not trying to force him to be a point guard, because Reed Shepherd is not a point guard. He's a combo guard. He's somebody that can be a connector on offense, but not necessarily somebody that's going to run the offense for 30-plus minutes. You don't need him to do that. That really needs to be Alperen Sengun at the top of the key, not having Kevin Durant with his back to the basket. We saw that a lot more in that second half, as well as something I mentioned in the first half, where you can't continue to give the ball to Kevin Durant 20 feet away from the basket with his back to the basket, and then the double team can easily come and trap him. You need to get Kevin Durant on the move. You need to get him more in pick and rolls, run more pick and rolls with him and Sengun, because how do you stop that pick and roll if you have Kevin Durant coming around a pick and Sengun rolling to the basket? And we saw that with one of the baskets late in the game where it was a little slip screen. Kevin Durant threw a little pocket pass to Alperen Sengun, who got an easy layup. That's the type of offense they need to run a lot more than just having Kevin Durant standing at the 3-point line with his back to the basket and double team coming, and he can't really see where it's coming from. That's not really the strength of his game. They need to get him on the move more pin downs, more screens, have him cut to the basket. Whatever you have to do, just get him on the move a lot more than they had, especially against that Spurs game. That was just painful to watch, because they were just able to key in on him, because there was just absolutely no movement on the offensive end. And we saw a lot more movement in the second half. A lot more guys cutting to the basket, and that led to them, getting into the paint, forcing the defense in, and then being able to kick it out to guys like Shepherd. And Jabari Smith had a much better second half after struggling in the first half. We saw a lot more movement in that second half, and that's exactly why the Rockets were able to score with 70 points in that second half, because they weren't so stagnant. And like I said, Alperen Sengun needs to be the guy at the top of the key. You don't need to have Adams and Capella trying to handle the ball, trying to do handoffs 35 feet away from the basket. It's just not the strength of their game. They need to be in the screens, setting the screen, rolling to the basket, not trying to have them, handle the ball way at the top of the key. We saw way too many turnovers when they're trying to do that. They need to have those guys moving towards the basket, because they're great offensive rebounds and they're great finishing around the basket as well. And we saw a better offense in that second half. And another reason, of course, Rockets got back to dominating the boards. The Spurs didn't dominate on the boards, but they were able to hang with the Rockets, and they were more efficient with their second chance points. And that's why they were able to, one of the main reasons they were able to beat the Rockets. The Rockets absolutely dominated the Bucks on the boards. And the Rockets had 50 rebounds to the Bucks 27. And the Rockets had 20 offensive rebounds in this game. And that's exactly how the Rockets need to win. They're not going to, eventually they're going to come back kind of to the pack when it comes to three-point shooting. They're a really good three-point shooting team right now, and maybe they hang around that high 33-point shooting, but you have to imagine eventually they're going to kind of come back to the pack when it comes to that three-point shooting. So the way the Rockets need to continue to win games how they won last year, and just kind of mix in shooting better from three-point range. That's crashing the boards and trying to limit their turnovers. Because when you turn the ball over 20 plus times, it's hard to beat any team, especially good teams in the NBA. And we saw the Rockets limit that to 5 turnovers in the second half, and that was a big reason why they were able to come back and win this game. And it's early in the season, but it's a huge win because you don't want to get to a point where you start losing 2, 3, 4 games in a row. You want to continue that momentum that you have with a 5-game winning streak. Now you're going into your next game against I think rebuilding is being nice, but a not so good Washington Wizard team where Cam Whitmore was traded to, and he struggled with them. He's had some issues already with that team. So I don't even know how much he's really even going to play against the Rockets on Tuesday. But to be able to go into that game, we got another big time win that gets you to 6 wins on the season. And like I said, it is early, but in the Western Conference, you can't take anything for granted because we saw last season, even though Rockets in the last week or two were able to kind of separate themselves with that second seed, but you saw from 3 down all the way to 8 or 9, it was just bunched up. So you don't want to drop any games in the Western Conference, because it's not like the Eastern Conference where the competition is nowhere near as good as it is in the Western Conference. Every single game counts. You don't want to drop games that you have a chance at winning, and the Rockets were able to do that tonight. Like I said, Kevin Durant, Alperen Sengun, when you close tonight, Reed Shepherd continues to play perfectly in his role. He's a superstar in his role. That's all he needs to be. He doesn't need to be any more than that. He needs to be exactly what he's doing right now, because let's just be honest, Rockets are going to be mixing and matching, trying to figure out how to make up for not having a traditional point guard, at least until December when they can make some type of possible moves. So you just need guys to be really good in their role. You don't need guys to try to play outside of their roles. You don't need amenthompson to try to go out there and get 10 plus assists a game. That's just not his game. His game is going downhill, crashing the boards off his rebounds, getting out on the fast break, playing really good defense. He is not going to be Fred VanVleet. He's not going to be the traditional type of point guard that the Rockets have seen the last couple of years in a Fred VanVleet. They just need guys to play really well in their roles. They have 2 superstar players, Alperen Sengun and Kevin Durant. They don't need anybody else to try to be a superstar night in and night out or try to be a star point guard. That's just not what they need. They need exactly what they got today. Is everybody playing really well in their role, and that was a big reason why they were able to come away with their 6th win of the season. A very, very good comeback win against a Milwaukee team. They haven't won in Milwaukee in several years. Probably 6 or 7 years coming into this game. So it's definitely a huge win for the Rockets. Like I said, they're now 6-3. Their next 2 games are going to be against the Washington Wizards, and then on Friday against the Portland Trail Blazers. That's going to be their first Cup game at home. I will be out at that game on Friday. Definitely bring you all the pre and post game as I usually do, and anything in between. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button, because I not only bring pre and post game every chance I get, pretty much almost every single game. I also bring you guys working out before the games, their routines. I bring you practice footage. I go out to any type of Rockets events, bringing you that. So I'm trying to bring you every single thing, type of Rockets content, highlights, anything that I can think of. So definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel. And all the people that already subscribe, I definitely appreciate the support as usual. We are heading closer to 6,000 subscribers. So definitely thank you for the support. And let me know down in the comments, what did you think about this win? What do you think was the biggest reason why the Rockets were able to come back? And what did you think of that Alperen Sengun play against Giannis to pretty much put the game away late in that 4th quarter? Let me know down in the comments what you think. And as always, I appreciate the support. Make sure you check out the next episode of Rocket Fuel Podcast.